Hello humans, it's your host Corey, and this week I'm going to do something a little bit different. Typically I have a topic that I explore each time I do an episode, like addiction for example was a recent one that I recorded, and I give you like my definition of that, my experience with that, and then my suggestions of how to work with that issue or that problem. This week is different because I want to just talk about birthdays generally, because I just had my birthday. My birthday is in August. I'm a few weeks away from it now. I was too busy on my actual birthday to do an episode. But birthdays have this reflective quality to them. I don't know about you, but when I have a birthday, I have a tendency to look back on maybe how my last year was. Do I like where I am? Am I happy with my progress? And so it creates this self-evaluative feeling. Some of us really hate our birthdays for that reason. We feel bad about ourselves. When I turned 40, for example, I cried. I was super depressed on my 40th birthday. I was like, I'm old, I've done nothing. So none of these things were true, by the way. I have a good friend who was turning 90 that year, and he was like, please don't. He was like, you don't even know what old is. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. From your perspective, I don't know what old is. And so I think it is good for that reason, just to throw in this little caveat. It's good to have friends who are older than you to remind you that you don't know what old is, no matter how you're aging. But we have a lot of connotations around age, and we have a tendency to really evaluate ourselves based on birthdays. And so I just want to share some thoughts that I had with my recent birthday. And I do, if you're on the Patreon, whatever, then you will also see I made a short video of like the cake that I got, and I kind of did like a sort of review of my Baskin-Robbins ice cream cake. But this is not that. That's just a little extra freebie that I'll throw up there for you guys who support the show. Thank you so much for those of you who do that. It helps me to cover the costs of hosting and the video editing and my time and stuff, so thank you so much for that. But this is more like, these are the thoughts that I had on my birthday this year. This is kind of where I am, the realizations that I had in the past year, and what I hope I do in the next year. So basically what I've learned and what I'm learning at 42, because that was what I turned this year, was 42. And so where have I been this past year? This year was really interesting because a lot happened but didn't. So like my day-to-day life didn't change all that much. I kind of had similar routines and similar patterns of like just how I lived. My wife and I have been in this house that we have now for like 10 years. It'll be 10 years at the end of this month actually. And so we have a pretty settled way of living here, so that's nice. But kind of professionally and emotionally, things were changing a lot for me. And so some of the realizations I had this year, or like some big themes that were part of my evolution this year, was my relationship to play and creativity. So I definitely am still healing from burnout. I'm still healing from this kind of workaholic addiction pattern that I've had. So one of my realizations is that I used work as a way to keep me safe. So as someone who grew up in challenging circumstances, and maybe you can relate to this as well, you felt like you had to be overprotective of yourself, like you're the only one that can take care of you and you have to get everything done. This very heavy, like adult responsibility mentality. And I carried that from a very young age, and I kind of inherited from my father this idea that, you need to work really hard, you need to work a lot. And it's very supported by American culture as well, as you know, like this idea that you gotta work. And you really got to hustle and you got to stay on top of things, or bad things will happen to you. So that was a narrative that I've carried for a long time. And it kind of really came to a head when my mom died back in 2020. And yes, 2020. So it's been 5 years since her death. But slowly since then, I've just realized that I've been distancing myself in the beginning because I just couldn't. Like, I just could not hustle after her death the way that I did before. There was something fundamentally that shifted for me, that I could not approach work and what I was doing the way that I had before. My heart wasn't in it the way it was before, and it was really clear that I kind of had burnt out, bottomed out, so to speak, and I had to rebuild. And so I'm still kind of at times flirting with burnout, like I can feel it creep up and my energy feels really low. And so I've been learning how to redefine what work is for me, what meaningful work is for me. So not just doing something because I feel like I'm supposed to do it or that I have to do it, but doing it because I love it or because it matters to me or because it brings me joy. And so I would definitely say that one of the core themes of this past year was this examination of my relationship to work. That I recognized that it was something that I used in the past to make me feel safe, and that my relationship with it wasn't healthy, that wasn't good, that it wasn't like it was bringing me joy and happiness. It was more like it was sucking my soul out of my body. And so that has very much been a theme for the past year. And I would like to continue to work on that in the coming year, possibly years, possibly rest of my life, in which I want to develop a much healthier relationship with the work that I do. And part of it has been changing what my focus is. So when my mom died, I was focused just on my fiction career, writing stories, and that's still very important to me. I just finished and am releasing a collection next month, for example. So I have been writing, and I write poems also right now. So I've got several creative things going on, but it's not just about making as many books as possible as fast as possible anymore. Now it's also, there's a little bit more intention and choice when I decide to do something. I've been also trying to, share the story of like my family and things we went through, coping strategies, that what I am calling the well cared for human model, what I have on this show, and then also when I wrote the book, and I'm also developing some other materials like the workbook and audiobook and stuff, things that I feel like will help people transform their relationship with themselves, which is really important to me. So I'm trying not to just work for the sake of work. I'm trying to work on what I think matters, like will actually make impacting change on other people's lives and my life, my own process. I'm still healing, if you can't tell. And so I want to continue to do that going forward, so that until that becomes habitual, right? Until I'm presented with a project or idea and I don't tell myself, oh, I have to do it because I came up with it. It's more like, does it make sense for me to do that? Am I emotionally connected to that? Will that bring me joy? Will it help me help others? That kind of thing. And so I want to continue to heal my relationship with the work that I do. Kind of adjacent to that is this idea of the importance of play and joy. Part of that is in healing the burnout. So when I crashed and burned following my mother's death, I just realized how little room I had made in my life for play and joy. So everything that I did was very serious. So take writing, for example. Writing means a lot to me. It's like, it is what I am. Like, I am a storyteller. Like, it's the core essence of who I am. But I told myself that I would only have permission to do that if I could turn it into a business, if I could make money off of it, if it was my professional career, right? So I took something that was playful, that was joyful, and I turned it into work, right? Maybe you're sensing a theme here about me and my bad habits. But I took something that was supposed to be, very healing, and I turned it into work. And when the burnout happened, I realized that my healing mechanism, because I've talked about this before, about how you're using your creativity is the easiest way to heal yourself. Like, it is a built-in tool. Humans are creative, and we can use that creativity to heal ourselves. And so it is a built-in healing tool to transform your relationship with yourself, to heal any pain or trauma that you have. That's why creativity and creative expression is so important. And I did use that immediately following my mother's death, right? I told that story in the Who Killed My Mother podcast. I wrote that as the book, and then I started in on this book and this show. And so I was doing that, but it still had this flavor of work about it, about trying to make it into something that I could use to take care of myself. And part of that was from my scarcity mindset. So if you've ever grown up in poor circumstances or you've struggled with poverty at all, you know that fear about like not having enough, not being able to pay the bills. And so that definitely was complicating my relationship with my work and what I made and why I made it. Like, was it okay to make it? Was I going to be able to turn a profit from this? Am I going to be able to pay my bills this month? That kind of thing. And so I'm learning to separate these things more so that I can have what's clearly play and that the work that I'm doing is work, but it's meaningful work, not just work to be working for its work's sake. But it's really been hard for me to develop this habit of, and I have an episode about play and creativity coming out, but this idea, it's really hard to have play be okay. Like if you're a workaholic, if you struggle with work, if you have any kind of addictive patterns or bad habits around your work, like there's definitely a reason why we have a holic after the end of work, because it's definitely an addictive pattern. If there's any struggle with that, this idea of giving yourself permission to do something just for the sake of you want to do it is so hard. It goes against, at least for me, it's been going against everything I think I know about myself, right? And there's a lot of fear that comes up. There's a lot of internal criticism that comes up and says, it's not okay, you can't do this, we don't have time for this, what are you doing? This is not how you should be spending your time. And so I want to continue to work on that pattern. I do think it's partially an addictive pattern. I think it drove me into burnout. I think it's really unhealthy for me to view how I spend my life and my time that way. So I want to change that. And I really want that to be a focus for this coming year. And it did start in this previous year, like just me kind of recognizing this unhealthy relationship that I had, how I had no space in my life for joy, for creativity, for play, that I had to earn permission. There was a lot of earning there, like, do you deserve to have this? Do you deserve to have the time for this? And that's just a really toxic way to view happiness. It's like, do you deserve to be happy? Have you done enough to deserve happiness? Like, listen to me. Like, how does that sound? That sounds absolutely unhealthy. Looking at creativity, play, my relationship with work, that was all big last year. I still need to keep doing that in the coming year. I definitely have not healed that yet. It's a work in progress. And I think that that's true for any kind of addictive patterns, right? Like, it's not like we just solve it instantly. If I have given you the impression in any of the episodes that I've done that you just simply heal this thing, whatever this sticking point is, like, it's fine, you just fix it. No. Like, it's always taken me many years to unpack or heal something that I'm struggling with. And I feel like I'm getting to some of the more ingrained or like baseline fears. So healing is very much like this. And you'll know this if you've been on this planet for any length of time. And I know that many of my listeners are older than me, so I'm probably telling you something that you already absolutely know about yourself. Forgive me for that. This idea that you think that you're just going to keep getting better and better, but healing actually looks like you're getting worse and worse. Like, you keep peeling back the layer and you find a new box of crap and you're like, oh my god, what is this? What is this down here? And I feel like that's what it's been like for me. So it's like I healed these things and I peeled it back and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's more. Oh no, there's more. Oh my gosh, it just keeps going. And so it's like I keep finding new things. So I am pretty far down in the healing process, but I keep uncovering these things. And some of them are so subtle. Like, they're so almost invisible because they are so close to like the wiring. You know what I mean? Like this is like underlying way of existing that's probably like been generational, right? That I've just carried forever. So part of that is the relationship with work, how I use it to make myself feel safe. Another part is how I make everything too serious. Like I have no chill. I have no just enjoying things for the sake of enjoying them. But then also how these patterns are kind of held in place by underlying beliefs, right? And so one of the things that I kind of peeled back or that I'm coming up against is this idea that I thought by this age, let's just say by this age, I would be fixed, right? I think that's a really common belief that by my age, I should be better. Like by my age, everything should be good. But that's a really toxic belief. And the reason why it's a toxic belief is because it suggests that there's a destination in your healing, or that, you know, that you're not good enough until you reach point X, Y, Z, whatever. And I don't think we should, I'm going to be so bold as to tell you, I don't think we should do something, but I don't think we should view ourselves that way, that we're not okay, that we're not enough, that we're not good until we reach, you know, X, Y, and Z. I think that's a really negative and harmful way to look at ourselves, and I'm very guilty of doing this. And I kind of realized that. And it, again, ties into this birthday feeling that comes up. So, like, I have a birthday, and then I'm like, where am I? Should I be somewhere better? And this idea that I still have things to work on, that I still have issues and problems, that I'm still a human in progress. To have any kind of negative feeling about that, paired with the at 42 years old, I should be farther, etc., that's really, in my opinion, unhealthy. And so I recognize that, and I want to continue to work on that in the coming year. Because we're always going to have problems. And I'm not trying to be negative, but I just kind of had this realization recently that I will have problems until I am dead. And then maybe even when I'm dead, I might have problems, because I don't know what happens next, right? I don't know what the problems look like post-death. But if someone was asking me, like, what was your dream manifestation of a well-cared-for human, like if a well-cared-for human reached its, like, final form, and it was, like, the best it could be, and I was like, I would love it if people saw me as, like, an amazing problem solver. Like, if they had a problem, whether it was loving themselves, whether it was whatever the issue was, that they came to me and I fixed the problem. And I was like, that is terrible. That is terrible. So I had to immediately start thinking, like, nope, that's not the goal. I have to fix that. But what's embedded in that kind of visualization is that I would always have problems, right? Because there is no end to the amount of problems that we have in our lives and in the world, right? And so it's like if I was asking the universe, please give me this amazing platform and opportunity to fix the world's problems. It's like I'm asking for problems. And it's like, okay, like you realize that you're asking for more problems to solve. Yeah, you want to solve them, but you're asking for problems. And so this idea that you don't have to have everything figured out by a certain age, like that is nonsense, frankly. And the fact that I even thought it means that I'm still thinking nonsensical things and need to work on that. But I will always have problems. I will always be in progress. Right now, what I'm working on, relationship with work, and also another thing that I'm working on is visibility. And so I have been doing more public speaking this past year. I have been stepping more and more into that role. I had started not that long ago, I think within the last year, making videos of the podcast, not just audio. So before I was hiding up in my closet upstairs in the room, and then I started recording them downstairs so you could see my face. And I think that has to do with the fact that until very recently, like within the last few years, I had this problem with being visible. Yes, I was a professor for many years, and so I would get up in front of a classroom and I would teach students. I was still terrified when I did that as well. I don't know that. And now I get up on stages in front of a lot of people and I give keynote presentations, and it can be very scary to do that. And I think that that's because I clearly have a wound that I'm in the process of healing. And it has to do with visibility. I've talked about this before. I think I talked about it in the How to Shine episode, which was that when I was growing up, any time I took up any space or I let people see me or get to know me, there was always this risk that I was going to be hurt, particularly by certain members of my family, abusers who, didn't like to see me shine. I wasn't allowed to be smart or funny or outperform them, quote, in any way. And so even though I didn't view that as a child, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm better than everyone. That's nonsense. I had no such thoughts as a child, maybe like as a teen. But as a little kid, when these abusive situations were happening, I just didn't understand, why people were reacting this way to me and something. And so anyway, the fear was definitely stored somewhere. And so now when I get up there and I get seen and I want to tell a story or share something about my life, I'm like, is this okay? Like I have this moment of hesitation about, am I going to sound dumb? Or, are my ideas even good? Or like, if somebody else even going to think about it? I had this brilliant idea the other day that was like, what if I invented a sunscreen that had a black light on it? So like when you put your sunscreen on, you could show if you missed any spot. It's already exists, right? It already exists. And that's just the trouble with ideas, is that a lot of people are out there having great ideas and they're making the things, right? And so there's always this fear, this like imposter syndrome underneath that's like, is this actually a great idea, or is this just something dumb that's already been invented? Am I just repeating things that other people have said? Are they not smart at all? And so anyway, these are all things that I'm working on. So I would say that kind of my birthday thoughts were that I recognize that in this past year I've been working with my relationship with work, my relationship with creativity and play. I need to keep working on that. I need to keep working on my visibility fear. I need to keep putting myself out there because it is very important, not just for me, but for you. Whatever you're going through, talk to other people, share your stories. We're here to help each other heal and move past the things that we're getting stuck on. And so I'm going to keep doing it. I hope you keep doing it too. And whatever that means for you, whatever that looks like in your life. And just remember that whatever thoughts you might be having about your age, it's nonsense. It doesn't matter. There's always someone older than you, unless you're dead, or unless you're the oldest person on the planet, I guess. But there's always a different perspective. There is no, it should be sorted by here. We're always a work in progress. We're always continuing to evolve and become more and more ourselves. And so we're not behind. We're not in a race with anybody else. Don't let your birthday get you down. It's a wonderful time to celebrate who you are, your journey. Let other people celebrate you, that they're glad that you're alive, that they're glad that you're here. I'm certainly glad that you're here and that we get to spend this time together. And so, yeah, don't let your birthdays make you sad. Keep moving forward, keep growing, keep being proud of yourself and your progress. And we're just going to keep doing this thing called life. Not that any of us know what it is or why it works. But we're just going to keep showing up and doing our best and celebrating ourselves along the way.